YNW Melly wasn't the happiest man at his latest court hearing. As it would be announced, the court has denied the request to re-deposition Detective Mark Moretti by YNW Melly's defense team on July 28th, and they heard by Judge Murphy III on August 4th that the defendant has failed to show a good cause for re-deposing Mark Moretti. For more context, Mark Moretti was one of the lead detectives in the YNW Melly case, as he did his deposition as well as sharing evidence on July 28th. However, YNW Melly's lawyers want to now remove that evidence of Mark revealing all of this evidence for the second YNW Melly trial that's coming up, as Mark revealed some concerning text messages from YNW Melly's cell phone, such as a text message of Melly admitting to doing the crime.
The PC Gambino account asked him if he was okay, and his response was, "I did that," and placed a smiley face emoji.
And the next message from 10/26/2018 at 16:02 from Eastern Standard Time. The YNW Melly account says what?
After that, SHHHH.
And could you please stand and point on the right side of the screen exactly which part you're saying where the YNW Melly account says, "I did that"?
I did that. This is the thread ID. This is the text. This is the author. And this is the recipient. Then you come down here, same thing. The ID is for the actual message, which is just specific that one message. Then the thread ID is the actual continuing message.
As Mark Moretti provided a lot of evidence in the case against YNW Melly. As the evidence that he got, he did some very questionable police work to YNW Melly's manager to get.
Did you, as a trained investigator, Jameson Francois to be deported to Haiti, even though he's been in this country since 5 years?
Yes, sir.
Did you, in fact, that he would not get fed and get any medicine in the jails?
I don't know about that in the conversations.
Do you think a witness who tells you something that you don't like really gets to the truth?
Objection or irrelevant.
When you questioned Jameson Francois, were you alone, or did you bring immigration officers with you?
We were at the Chrome Detention Center, so of course the immigration officer had to be there.
Why this is so important is due to 100K Track being YNW Melly's music manager. He gave that lead detective, Mark Moretti, YNW Melly's cell phone around 2 years ago. He had no choice to do it, or else Mark Moretti was going to kick him out of the United States. That cell phone now contains 90% of the evidence that the prosecutors were using against YNW Melly in trial, as on that cell phone contained incriminating text messages between Melly and his girlfriend if you read through the lines.
Moving on to Friday, November 9th, 2029, 20 UTC, 2018. Message from Melly, Montana to, again, that baby. What does that one say?
You don't with me anyways. I peeped it. You can slide, but God knows I wasn't in her and real breaking. You spoiled everything was given to you. You act like a some slide. I keep Orton with cuz at the
where YNW Melly is seen stating he's gonna remain loyal to Bortland all the way until the end, as Melly's ex-girlfriend was telling him she is gonna break up with him if he doesn't stop being friends with Bortland. But Bortland did one of the realest things in his life for him, as he mentioned in the text message. I really wonder what that might be. However, YNW Melly's latest court hearings before today were very positive. As it was announced, YNW Melly hires a new lead attorney named Jamie Benjamin to replace former lead David A. Howard in the upcoming retrial. Benjamin joins the returning team of Stewart and Raven Liberty. Benjamin, a legacy criminal defense attorney with a lengthy state and federal court experience in various cases. He's also won several penalty cases, which is what YNW Melly is facing. Benjamin is also a former president of the Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. As YNW Melly has fired his old attorney attorney named David A. Howard. However, the interesting part of this court hearing was this moment up next, where it would be announced. YNW Melly smiled and he said, "I'm coming home," to family members in the gallery as he was leaving the courtroom.
The defense continues that on everybody's part. And then we set it for a status in November. If something comes up, just contact my JA. Put it on the docket anytime. All right? Very good. All right, guys. Thank you. Oh, I gave him status. Did you give him status? Movement. First part of November. Friday. Good for you guys? For 10? Very good. State, 10? 10? November 10? That's fine.
As YNW Melly is seen being very confident with his new lead lawyer. However, many believe that he shouldn't, as this is due to a report this week which states, according to a juror who served in the YNW Melly trial, claims a majority of the jurors wanted to convict him. However, one woman that was on the jury was determined to find Melly not guilty, and she convinced two others to say he wasn't guilty too. Quote, "His mom is lying, it was a 9-3 vote, not the other way around." As a juror that was on the YNW Melly trial went to go do an anonymous interview, as there was two issues that they wanted to bring up. One was YNW Melly's mother lying. The second was a secret juror that wanted to be a hero. Starting with YNW Melly's mother, the juror wanted to make everything clear. Jamie King was lying when she posted on her Snapchat, 9 not guilty, 3 guilty. It was a mistrial, my son will be home soon. God is still working. As the actual vote count was 9-3 guilty. However, it gets much deeper than this, as the hero juror would go on to cause a lot of issues. She knew from the beginning she was not going to change her mind at all.
Now, this from Local 10 News right out of Fort Lauderdale. They said most jurors wanted to convict Melly of 2 counts of the Broward County, the former juror has said. Now, this juror is speaking on the condition of anonymity, which means that they're not going to disclose their identity. The juror blamed the mistrial on one woman who served on the jury who appeared to be determined to acquit Jamel Demmons. The juror goes on to say that from day one, she had issues with the 4-person selected, at one point crossing her arms and saying that she was done. When another juror asked to not shut down and she set her feelings aside, she was manipulative, she was rude, she yelled insults at everyone, and she was just had a different opinion. The juror stated that she was there just to cause chaos.
Sources claim she wanted to be a hero, possibly wanting fame or some sort of financial gain to be the one to save YNW Melly's life in this case. The original votes were 11-1 for YNW Melly being guilty. However, the juror that wanted to be a hero, she didn't want to do it alone. She would go on to do something very unexpected.
On the last day of deliberation, the former juror said that while it appeared that there was 11-1 to convict Demmons, with the woman pulled 2 jurors aside and spoke to them for a few minutes and convinced them to come to her side. They stated, and I quote, "Then she came over and announced to the group that they had changed their minds, but when another juror asked why she was speaking for them, the former juror said, adding that the woman then hurled insults, including at the man who was questioning her. And without an agreement, Broward County Circuit Judge John J. Murphy declared the mistrial, and you guys remember that.
Then we would see the juror that was doing the anonymous interview reveal why she even did it. This makes YNW Melly's mother look extremely unprofessional.
The former juror said that the decision to speak up about what happened behind the scenes resulted from reports from Demmons' mother, Jamie King, who said that they were deadlocked at 9-3 in favor of an acquittal, which again, we find out from this juror, is incorrect. The former juror said it was actually the opposite. She said that she had came out because she said, I don't want someone out there changing my vote. And she then goes on to say that you tell a lie enough, it becomes the truth. Now, here's the best snippet. It says the next hearing for the case is on August 4th, and Demon's team, as well as the prosecutors, agreed to start jury selection for the next trial on October 2nd. But again, we don't know if the judge is going to agree to a dual trial.
However, the serious new evidence against YNW Melly released this week all begins with YNW Bortlen, as rumors are revealing that he will be snitching on YNW Melly to save himself. As moments after the YNW mistrial was granted, Bortlen would tweet something that many people didn't realize. A report would share, YNW Bortlen tweets a mysterious message on the same day the YNW Melly mistrial was declared, where the tweet shares, "Mind games don't work on people like me," alongside a handshake emoji. Now, during the entire YNW Melly trial, his lawyers were trying to play mind games with the jury, hinting towards Bortlen being the guilty one and not Melly. And now YNW Bortlen is subtweeting the mind games phrase, as throughout the entire trial, his lawyers were hinting that it was Bortlen. As on day one of the YNW Melly trial, roughly 20 minutes in, YNW Melly's lawyer would state Bortlen is the one that had powder residue on his hands and much more.
Demon's lies, those were his lies. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with two bodies, car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, powder residue on his hands, evidencing that he has discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having a phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said, everybody has a phone in his pocket. Not Cortland Henry. There were 3 phones.
That is YNW Melly's lawyer revealing that it's always been Bortlen that has been telling the lies to the feds on that night. And he was the one with powder residue on his hands, and Bortlen was the last one with juvie and sack chaser. We would then even see Bortlen's interview where he was caught lying to detectives during the investigation.
And I'm driving, ducking for my life, trying to make sure I don't get hit. And you telling me, you telling me about shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. I'm driving. I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. You know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna be worried about? You know what I'm saying?
I know it's not for you to worry about.
Shit crazy, bro.
But if you tell me it happened there's got to be some evidence there. There's going to be broken glass, just like there's broken glass over here when you guys open the doors and stuff like that. Okay, there's going to be broken glass over there when the windows got out. There's going to be casings from the people at your car. Okay, there's going to be evidence over there. Okay, right now there's nothing. I kind of think I know what happened because I got information.
This wouldn't be the last time YNW Bortlen's evidence was getting brought up in Melly's trial either. We would see a forensic scientist that covered the passings go into further detail on Bortlen having the powder residue on his hands.
So the right hand of Cortland Henry contained 0 particles characteristic of powder residue and 2 component particles. And the left hand contained 1 particle characteristic of powder residue and 1 2-component particle.
Okay. And can you explain to us what that means?
Basically, overall, there was powder residue present on the hands.
Due to how YNW Melly's lawyers were presenting evidence in Melly's trial against Bortlen, Bortlen might not have any other option but to snitch on YNW Melly, wondering why they're constantly making him look like the suspicious one, as this is when Bortlen would then be brought into the courtroom and given his court date for trial.
Cortland Henry?
Yes, sir, he's present.
That you in the back
Status conference.
Come on up.
I guess you're already trial code is right now. We're set for October 3rd for trial.
You had a motion pending as well?
Yes, Judge. As the court, when we were here the last time, you let him go to church and stuff, you said about working, you would be subject to seeing his schedule. We filed a schedule for the next couple of months.
I saw that.
Be able to work. And I talked to his probation supervisor. She has no problem with him at all. She said that if he's going to go to work, she'd like anybody has to do, provide an itinerary, where he's gonna be, how he's gonna get there, how it's gonna get done.
However, this is when we heard lawyers reporting further talking about Bortland, explaining on why YNW Bortland got bond for the last few years, but not YNW Melly.
And he was able to negotiate a bond for him because of the charges that he was charged with, because they felt that he wasn't the man, and because of his prior criminal history, which I think was very sparse. So all those things went into whether or not he was going to be given a bond. I think at the time that the bond was being argued, there was the evidence that was being presented at his bond hearing was very difficult to kind of gel together in terms of, as you've seen during the trial, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on in the trial that you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't really gel. Some things are out of whack. And that's what happens at an Arthur hearing when you're moving for bond on this type of charge.
Revealing the feds believed all the way from the beginning that YNW Melly was the one that did the crime, and Bortland just didn't really have that big of a part. However, this is when a lawyer answered a very important question.
Is it too late for Cortland to plea?
No, I don't think it's too late. It's never too late. I've had individuals been offered pleas but turned them down in the middle of trial. I've had people offered pleas before a verdict came back. So it just depends on the case, depends on the prosecutor, depends on the actual charges. So no, it's never too late for that. He could take a plea in the middle of his case. I don't think that would happen. If he was going to take a plea, if there was going to be a deal, it would be in the middle of Melly's case.
As ever since YNW Melly was originally locked up in the year 2018, it has been the YNW Group's main priority to make Melly look like the innocent one. As it even reads in a new lawsuit against Melly, defendant 100K Track assisted Melly and Bortland with the collection and disposal of the firearm that was used to commit the crime. Now, if this is true and 100K Track did dispose of the firearm, it makes this interview we did with DJ Academics feel very weird.
He built a real great solid team away from just being innocent, because he wouldn't do such a crime. He prepared himself and got a proper, defense. Their job is to handle themselves in trial, not on social media. You guys are taking it that way. If they say they got DNA in a car, I'm just gonna tell you, Melly DNA was found in the car. You're gonna think, yeah, his DNA was found in the car the day of the oh, he jumped in a car and his DNA was in the car, he did it. Okay, but you're not gonna put the fact that this was his car for 6-7 months on those documents and dockets and just automatically be like, yo, he's fried. You don't even know what the defense is. You don't even know what the rebuttal is. You don't even know why that situation occurred. You hear ballistics flying, you don't know what the defense is. You hear this, you hear that. You get what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest.
As 100K Track states that YNW Melly has great defenses on his side, which is obviously true as there's no firearm, as even YNW Melly's reaction to that evidence feels a little strange.
Why not?
So the first thing is I didn't have a firearm, so I can't know which firearm I'm going to use in order to replicate any of my tests. So I can't make tests for this determination because I don't know what firearm was used.
Okay. Do you have a...
However, this doesn't change anything for YNW Bortland, as he was the one driving the car. They have not done anything to make him look like he is the innocent one, as this is why YNW Melly looked so concerned when YNW Juvie's best friend Trayvon took the stand in court against YNW Melly, as him being on the stand doesn't favor YNW Melly in any way. As we would even see Melly's lawyers argue to the prosecution, they are putting up YNW Juvie's friend with no good reasoning, as YNW Melly gives his lawyer a very strange look, and you can tell something is wrong.
On the stand is knowingly, Judge. They knew in the deposition, 1. 2, they knew when I put them on notice with my motion. So they had the opportunity after the deposition, 2, after my motion pointing out we violated the rule of sequestration, just not to call them. They, however, are going to continue to proceed knowing he has violated the rule and put him on the stand. So yes, when you look at it that way, the state may be acting inappropriately.
As Trayvon was at the recording studio on that night, his job was to clarify if there was any tension between Melly, Sack Chaser, and Juvie. However, he also answered a very serious question against Melly, which reads, YNW Melly's friend confirms that Melly changed clothes at Fredo Bang's house on the night of the crime.
Okay.
Was that the first time you saw Melly after you guys left the studio?
Yeah.
Was Melly wearing the same clothes or different clothes than when you saw him at the studio?
It was a new day. Nah, he wasn't.
Nah, he wasn't. You guys
Wasn't wearing the same clothes.
Okay. Do you recall what he was wearing?
Just had on some shorts.
And